Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. We're here again, ready to sift through that stack of sources you've sent, all the summaries, the articles, basically everything detailing the latest drama.
And today, we're zeroing in on Genoa City, specifically on two characters who seem almost cosmically aligned for chaos right now, Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles.
Exactly. Our goal today, our mission, if you will, is to really unpack this simultaneous implosion they're both experiencing. We're talking major rejections happening at pretty much the exact same time.
Yeah, and the sources are all pointing in one direction. A massive revenge-fueled rebound, like seriously explosive potential here. This isn't shaping up to be some slow, simmering thing.
No, not at all. This is pure reaction, raw nerves. So we're going to explore how that shared sense of humiliation, that absolute fury they're both feeling.
And that, very thin line between hating someone's guts and maybe something else. How that's all mixing together.
It looks like it's creating this incredibly toxic, but let's be honest, pretty compelling dynamic. We want to get past just what happens and look at the why, the psychology of it all, using someone else to deal with your own mess.
And what's really striking reading through this material is that the foundation isn't, well, it's not romantic at all, is it? It seems to be pure spite. Like they're looking for a partner in crime.
Yeah, someone to help them punish their exes, Claire Newman for Kyle, Nate Hastings for Audra.
And maybe punish each other a little bit, too, while they're at it. It's complex. So let's dig into this setup. What actually led to this perfect storm?
Okay, so first things first. You can't have this kind of intense rebound, especially a revenge rebound, without the initial wound, right? And boy, did Kyle and Audra both get dumped. Hard.
And crucially, at the same time.
Yeah.
That timing is everything. They're both walking around Genoa City just raw, like exposed nerves.
It creates this weird kind of kinship, doesn't it? Even if they despise each other. If only one was single and furious, it wouldn't land the same way.
Exactly. But because they're both dealing with this very public, very painful rejection, they kind of see themselves in the other person's misery, even if they hate seeing it.
So let's break down Kyle's situation first. The word is definitely out. Clara Grace Newman ended things. And for Kyle, this is, well, it's devastating. He seemed to really believe she was the one.
Or at least he wanted to believe it. Maybe he thought she could fix his perpetual relationship roller coaster.
His dad, Jack Abbott, apparently has a more measured take, which is interesting.
Yeah, the sources say Jack feels bad for Kyle, naturally, but he also gets it from Claire's perspective. He seems to understand why she'd do this.
Really? What's his reasoning? Because Jack doesn't always take the mature route when it comes to his kids' love lives.
No, he doesn't. But here, he's apparently pointing out that Kyle was Claire's very first everything. The first kiss, first boyfriend, first everything, intimacy included.
Ah, okay. So Jack sees it as maybe too much too soon for her.
Pretty much. His take is that for someone like Claire, who's just finding her feet after all that trauma with Aunt Jordan, needing some space, needing more life experience, but before settling down with her first serious relationship. It makes sense.
So Jack actually thinks it's kind of healthy for her, even though it's crushing Kyle.
That seems to be the gist of it. A necessary step in her, emotional development, which is quite insightful, actually.
But maturity isn't exactly contagious in that family, is it? Because Kyle's mom, Diane Jenkins, she found out differently.
Oh, yeah. Classic soap stuff. She apparently overheard Victoria, Nikki, and Claire talking about the breakup at Society. Eavesdropping, basically.
And let me guess, Diane handled this with grace and discretion.
Not a chance. According to the sources, she immediately hunted Claire down and confronted her, accused her of breaking Kyle's heart right then and there.
Wow. So instead of helping Kyle process it privately, Diane makes it a public drama. That can't help Kyle's state of mind.
Definitely not. It just amps everything up, makes Kyle feel even more like the victim with mommy fighting his battles. It probably fuels his resentment, makes it harder to see Claire's side at all.
Yeah, it feeds right into that narrative he sometimes has, that things are done to him. Makes it an attack, not just a breakup.
Precisely. He can't see it as maybe necessary or mutual. It becomes this personal affront that he needs to react against.
Okay, so that's Kyle spiraling. Now, Audra Charles. What's her immediate situation? She's also dealing with fallout, right?
Oh, big time. She's apparently in full-on panic mode. The sources say she went back to Nate Hastings, not just to talk, but to really plead her case, like begging him to take her back.
That sounds desperate, especially for Audra. What's the prediction there? Any chance Nate caves?
Zero. Absolutely none, according to everything we're reading. The expectation is a rejection so definitive, so final, it's almost brutal.
How final are we talking?
Well, one source put it perfectly, I thought. They called it the Taylor Swift response, as in, we are never, ever, ever getting back together.
Ouch. Okay, that's unambiguous. That's a door slamming shit.
And locking. It's the final nail in that coffin. He's rejected her before, but this time feels different. It feels like the absolute end.
Why, though? What pushed Nate over the edge this time? He's put up with a lot from Audra before.
It seems to boil down to two things, kind of compounding each other. And it hits Nate where it hurts. His professional pride, his ego, maybe even his weird sense of integrity.
Okay, what are they?
First, obviously, the betrayal with Kyle. That stung, personally. But maybe Nate could have gotten past just that eventually. He's not exactly a saint himself.
Right, so what was the second thing? The real deal breaker.
The lies. Specifically, the whole pack of lies, as one source put it, about Victor Newman and the funding for her company, Glissade. That crossed a different line.
Ah, so it wasn't just personal betrayal, it was professional. She messed with Newman business, with Victor.
Exactly. She essentially used Nate, used his connections, maybe even his position at Newman Media, to get ahead, all while lying about her dealings with Victor, potentially jeopardizing Nate's standing.
That's playing with fire, especially where Victor's concerned.
Absolutely. And for Nate, who values or claims to value loyalty and honesty within his, professional circle, that was it. Audra proved she couldn't be trusted, not just personally, but financially, strategically.
So he's just done. No more chances. Patience completely exhausted.
That's the read. There's no way back for her with him. Professionally, personally, it's over.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. We have Kyle, dumped, feeling replaced, publicly defended by his mom, which probably makes it worse.
And Audra, dumped definitively, called out for lies and betrayal, completely shut down by Nate.
Both of them are not just single, they're single and kind of publicly shamed, or at least their flaws are on full display. Kyle's clinginess, Audra's manipulation.
Yeah, that public humiliation aspect is key. It's fuel.
Yeah.
And that sets the stage perfectly for the next phase, the immediate, messy, and really toxic fallout.
So let's focus on Kyle's immediate reaction. He's obviously crushed by the breakup itself, but it goes deeper, doesn't it? It taps into his core insecurities. Absolutely. That fear he seems to have, that if he doesn't hold on tight, people will leave. That maybe he's not enough on his own.
And this breakup just confirms all those fears in his mind, especially the idea that giving someone space means they'll realize they don't want him. Time apart equals abandonment for Kyle.
And Diane, bless her meddling heart, actually tries to, soften the blow? She tells Kyle about Claire possibly going to L.A.
Yeah, she shares that tidbit she overheard. But she tries to frame it positively, like, oh, she just needs space, time to clear her head. Maybe it's not really over. Don't lose hope.
Which sounds nice, but given Kyle's history, is probably the worst thing she could say, because space is his trigger word.
Exactly. We need to talk about his track record here. The sources hammer this point.
Yeah.
Kyle Abbott does not handle requests for space well, at all. He sees it as a threat, a countdown clock.
He lacks that patience, that emotional maturity to just let someone be for a bit. Respect the boundary.
And there's that perfect, almost unbelievable example the sources brought up again. Remember the last time Claire asked for space?
Oh, God, yes. He didn't reflect. He didn't wait. He went out and bought an engagement ring.
He proposed. The definition of emotional panic, right? Faced with potential distance, he tries to slam down the ultimate commitment to prevent it. He tries to control the situation, not understand her need.
So knowing that's his pattern, him running into Claire in the park right after Diane mentioned L.A., that's bad news.
Terrible timing. He's already stewing on it, and the sources say he immediately brings up the L.A. trip.
And connects it to Holden Novak.
Instantly. He puts 2 and 2 together, as they say, but probably gets 5.
Yeah.
His paranoia kicks in. Holden's from L.A., Claire's going to L.A., therefore she must be leaving him for Holden.
Wow, so he doesn't even ask, he just accuses.
Straight to accusation. He basically tells her she dumped him so she could run off to California with Holden. It's aggressive, it's insecure.
And probably pushes Claire even further away, right?
Right.
Confirming why she needed space in the first place.
You'd think so. She's apparently stunned by it. But here's the twist, according to the sources. Kyle, despite his toxic approach, might not be entirely wrong about Holden.
Wait, really? So there is something there?
The material suggests he's not really far off the mark. His delivery is terrible, pure paranoia, but the underlying suspicion about Holden, it seems to have some basis in reality.
Okay, hold on. We need to unpack that. Because Claire told her mom and grandma, Victoria and Nikki, that she and Holden were just friends, right? Trying to downplay it.
She did insist on that. But Victoria and Nikki aren't easily fooled. They apparently talked about it afterwards.
And what was their take?
They both admitted they'd heard Claire mention Holden talk about him. Quite a bit, it seems. Enough for them to conclude her interest is definitely more than just platonic.
So they believe she is into Holden.
The sources say yes, definitely into Holden, and that he is a factor in her decision-making process. Maybe not the only reason she broke up with Kyle, but part of why she's looking for independence and maybe why LA specifically.
That changes the dynamic quite a bit. It's not just Kyle being paranoid. In Kyle's paranoia accidentally hitting on a truth Claire was trying to hide or minimize.
Exactly. It makes the breakup less about just Kyle's issues and more about Claire actively exploring something new, something Kyle isn't part of.
And the sources said Claire was very insistent the breakup is final.
A done deal, at least for now, was the phrasing.
Yeah.
That little, at least for now, is the only sliver of hope Kyle might cling to.
But in his head, especially after the Holden accusation, he probably feels replaced. Utterly replaced by someone who represents freedom, LA, everything he fears he can't offer her.
And that feeling of being replaced, of being discarded for someone else, that's the final ingredient needed for the rage to fully ignite. Which leads us right into the next messy chapter.
Okay, so the stage is perfectly set. Kyle feels replaced and furious. Audra feels utterly rejected and furious. Both are single and hurting and full of rage.
Check, check, and check. And
Yes,
they both need somewhere to direct that rage. They need an outlet.
And what's so fascinating here, so twisted, is the mutual blame game. It's not just aimed at Claire and Nate.
No, they're turning it on each other, which is deeply ironic, isn't it?
How so? Explain that projection mechanism.
Well, Kyle blames Audra for his relationship with Claire failing. He likely points to their own past, entanglement, their affair, as the thing that planted seeds of doubt in Claire's mind, the trust issues she never got over.
So in his mind, Audra is the reason Claire left, or at least a major catalyst.
Exactly. He sees her as the original sin, the reason his perfect relationship was doomed.
And Audra, how does she blame Kyle?
She blames him for losing Nate once and for all. Their fling, however brief it was, gave Nate the perfect excuse, the final justification he needed to cut her loose, especially after she'd already messed up with the Victor lies.
So Kyle's actions, his willingness to engage with her, ultimately sealed her fate with Nate, in her view.
That seems to be her perspective. Kyle was the immediate cause of her professional and personal downfall with Nate. He represents her lack of judgment, her mistake.
Wow. So the anger isn't just outward at the exes, it's intensely inward at each other. They're each other's scapegoats.
Precisely. They look at each other and see the person who embodies their failure. It's a really destructive but weirdly satisfying dynamic for them, probably. Someone else to blame who isn't just themselves.
Which means any interaction between them now is going to be loaded. The sources expect them to actively try and hurt each other.
Oh, yeah. The prediction is they'll salt the wounds.
Yeah.
Knowingly. This isn't going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry you got dumped too. It's going to be competitive pain.
Trying to prove the other person's rejection was worse or more deserved.
Exactly that. And Audra, particularly, is expected to be vicious. Once she finds out about Claire heading to L.A., potentially with Holden, watch out.
She'll go straight for Kyle's biggest insecurity, his ego.
The sources predict relentless taunting, telling him Claire didn't just leave. She left for someone hotter and better and more loyal. Just twisting the knife about being replaced and being inadequate.
That would absolutely push Kyle over the edge. He can't handle feeling inferior.
And he'll fire back just as hard, going nuclear himself. He'll likely target Audra's biggest failure, losing Nate and her professional standing.
What would he say? Use Nate's rejection against her.
Probably. Something like Nate deserves better than a disloyal, lying, cheating harpy like Audra. Echoing the reasons Nate dumped her, confirming her worst fears about her own character and value.
Good grief. This sounds less like a conversation and more like psychological warfare, designed for maximum damage.
Absolutely, and we know they're capable of this level of hostility. There's that recent incident the sources mentioned.
Right, at the Jazz Lounge, at the GCAC.
Yeah. Kyle had been drinking, apparently, and he and Audra just went at it, ripping into each other so intensely that everyone was staring, like a public spectacle of pure venom.
It got physical, didn't it? Or close to it.
So hostile that Sally Spector, and get this, Jack Abbott himself, had to physically intervene. They had to break up the fight, pull them apart.
Jack had to step in. Wow. That tells you the level of raw aggression there. It wasn't just words.
That's the key takeaway. When two people generate that much heat, even negative heat, requiring physical separation, that energy is powerful. It didn't just evaporate when they stopped sleeping together.
It just changed form from attraction to hatred.
Exactly. It morphed from, sizzling, heated passion,
Yeah.
as the sources described their earlier connection, straight into scorching hatred. But the intensity, still there.
And the fact that people like Sally and Jack had to get involved shows how out of control it was. That volatility is just waiting for a spark.
It also says something about their dynamic, doesn't it? They're drawn to conflict with each other. High stakes, explosive conflict. It's almost like the anger is the connection now.
Which is a pretty dangerous foundation for what comes next.
That jazz lounge blowout, needing Jack Abbott to play referee, that's the perfect setup for this next predicted phase. Because despite that raw, ugly hatred,
There's still something else there, underneath it all.
the sources are pretty clear on this, obviously. Still passion is how one put it. The core energy, that intense focus they have on each other, it never actually went away.
It just flipped polarity
Right.
from positive attraction to negative obsession, maybe.
Exactly. It went from sizzling passion to hatred. But the underlying connection, that intense charge, is still alive. And the prediction is it could easily flip back the other way soon.
And the catalyst for that flip is the shared rage, the mutual need for revenge.
That seems to be the theory. This leads directly to what the sources are calling the hateful flame theory. It sounds dramatic, but
What does it entail? They just start fighting and end up...
pretty much. The prediction is that one of these intense, angry, blame-filled confrontations escalates. And it culminates in, well, hate sex, a full-on revenge rebound.
Okay, hate sex. Let's
Yeah.
define that in this context. It's not about making up, clearly.
No, the sources are emphatic. This is not about romance, not even about basic affection. It's purely about punishing one another.
Punishing each other for what? For causing the breakups.
Partly that, for reminding each other of their failures. But it's also about using the other person as a weapon against Claire and Nate.
How does sleeping together achieve that?
It's a public act of defiance. It screams, "See, I moved on and look who I moved on with." They know getting together, especially them, will likely disgust or infuriate their exes.
So for Kyle, it's like telling Claire, I don't need your patience or maturity. I can have chaos with Audra.
Right. And for Audra, it's telling Nate, "I don't need your corporate integrity. I prefer someone equally complicated." It's a middle finger to their ex's values. It's weaponized intimacy.
And this isn't unprecedented for them, the attraction part, right? We have history here.
Oh, definitely. We have to rewind to the France trip. Remember when they were working closely together over there?
Vaguely, yeah. There were sparks.
More than sparks. The sources describe it as sizzling, undeniable chemistry. They were both apparently really into it.
But nothing happened then, did it? Kyle was still with Summer, wasn't he?
He was trying to be, yeah. And Audra was focused on her career climb. But the attraction was so strong, the sources claim, that if Kyle himself hadn't tapped the brakes, they absolutely would have crossed the line right then and there.
Yeah.
Cheated on their partners.
Wow. So the potential was always there. It just needed the right or wrong circumstances.
And the dynamic back then, Audra was apparently flirting up a storm, really putting it out there. And Kyle, he was flirting right back. It was mutual, acknowledged, dangerous heat.
So that fire never really went out. It just got buried under resentment and breakups. And now the shared misery is like pouring gasoline on it.
That's the perfect analogy. So this hateful fling prediction,
Yeah.
it's just that old chemistry plus the new fury exploding. The forecast is literally that they'll fight and then fall into bed.
The fighting is the prelude.
It seems that way. That volatile energy, the kind that needed Jack Abbott to intervene, that becomes the spark. One source even said it's like fighting is foreplay for them.
Okay, that's intense. And it taps right into that classic enemies to lovers trope we see so often, right? Especially in soaps.
It definitely has that vibe. Why is that trope so popular, do you think?
Well, the energy, right? Intense feelings, even negative ones, mean the characters are constantly focused on each other. There's high stakes, high emotion. Usually the lovers part comes when they find common ground or respect underneath it all.
But here is their common ground. Or just common wreckage.
Right now, it seems like it's just shared humiliation and blame. They're bonded by the darkness, by the need to lash out. They understand each other's pain because they caused some of it for each other. That's a twisted kind of intimacy.
Super twisted. But it is intimacy of a sort, which leads to the speculation bit. Could this actually become something more?
Could a relationship that starts as pure revenge, as a secret dirty flame, actually evolve?
Right.
Could Kyle and Audra fall for each other for real?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources raise it as a possibility, that the sheer intensity, even negative intensity, could morph into genuine feelings down the line.
Do you buy that, given who they are? Kyle's insecurities, Audra's manipulations. Can something built on hate, sex, and spite possibly become stable or loving?
It's the ultimate dramatic gamble. They already know the worst parts of each other. Right, they've seen the flaws, the failures. They're using each other as emotional punching bags.
So maybe that honesty, however brutal, creates a weird foundation.
Perhaps. If, and it's a huge if, they can move beyond just using each other to hurt their exes. If they can actually acknowledge their shared vulnerability, that fear of being alone or inadequate,
Yeah.
then maybe, just maybe.
But it would be a relationship forged in fire, built on all those jagged edges you mentioned. Nothing smooth or easy about it.
Absolutely not. It's inherently volatile. So, for you listening, what we're seeing is two people who just lost their perceived anchors, Claire's stability for Kyle, Nate's legitimacy for Audra, and they're immediately diving headfirst into the most chaotic option imaginable. They're choosing drama. Hashtag tag tag shag outro.
So if you zoom out and look at the whole picture, what's driving this predicted hookup? It's purely reactive. It's rage. It's humiliation. It's needing a quick win, however messy.
Which makes the whole thing incredibly unstable right from the get-go, but also, yeah, intensely passionate probably. For a while anyway, that hatred fuels a certain kind of fire.
It really does. The sheer force of their animosity almost guarantees a powerful physical connection. It's just, where does that energy go after the initial explosion?
It's such a stark contrast. Kyle's relationship with Claire, whatever its flaws, started with hope. It collapsed partly because he couldn't handle insecurity, couldn't give space. Now he's running full speed in the opposite direction, towards someone who embodies a lack of space, maybe. Someone who meets his intensity with her own. He's picking chaos over the potential for peace he thought Claire offered.
And it makes you think, doesn't it, about the difference between real passion, the kind built on trust, safety, actual affection, and this kind of retaliatory chemistry.
Yeah, the retaliatory kind thrives on the drama, the conflict. It uses the other person like a mirror for your own anger, your own hurt. One builds something, the other just burns things down, as you said.
So thinking about that deep, deep rage driving both Kyle and Audra, that explicit need to punish themselves, each other, their exes.
Can a connection that starts like that, purely based on mutual vengeance and toxicity, ever genuinely become that enemies to lovers story? The kind we like to romanticize.
Or is it just doomed from the start, destined to crash and burn just as violently as it ignited, leaving them maybe even more damaged, more humiliated than they are right now?
That really is the question, isn't it? And it looks like Kyle and Audra are about to give us the answer, one way or another. We'll definitely be watching.
We absolutely will. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.